This is a repeat of what we saw in the 2014 cycle, where Republicans nominated a bunch of whack job candidates who were outside of the mainstream, and they lost races that Republicans really thought that they were going to win and make gains on. And it's the same cycle we're seeing repeat itself right now. These are people who are just so far outside of where most American values are that they're alienating themselves and the Republican Party. There's a reason why in recent polls, Republicans are underwater with independents. They are flipped upside down on the congressional generic ballot. There's a reason why you have candidates that if your own staff can't trust what you're saying, how could any voter reason to stand to want to trust what you're saying to them? These are systemic issues that are not going to get any better as this campaign unfolds.
I'm going to say, though, that 2014 example you give, well and good. However, prior to the Trump administration, which seems like it turned everything right on its head, upside down about that. Michael, as you think about how historically you have midterm elections hurting the party in power, people are certainly expecting a red wave. But then you look at these races, and there is a very real possibility Democrats could end up maintaining, even gaining some seats in the Senate. Is that how you see it?
Look, this is a little about luck for Democrats, but also about where the Republican Party is. This is indicative. These candidates who are representative of the Republican Party are also indicative of Republican voters. I mean, Dr. Oz, another reality TV character. Herschel Walker, someone who's unserious. Eric Greitens, someone who, had to be removed from office, has done horrific things, and most Republican senators and members of Congress don't support. I think really Democrats have to not fall into the trap of not taking these candidates serious, but also really painting the party as indicative of these candidates.
Yeah, I got to say, it is pretty bold to be removed from office and then come back and run again. That's pretty striking. But Kurt, what do you think it is about these candidates? I mean, could it be the Trump factor doesn't work for everyone, and that's ultimately what will be a deciding factor?
I think the biggest mistake that people in politics can make is to go, well, if Donald Trump could get away with this, well, then I can too. It's not transferable. We've seen time and again that it's a very unique environment that really only applies to Donald Trump, that you can get away with doing things like grab him by the you-know-what, that you can, refer to immigrants as drug dealers and rapists, that you could make fun of American soldiers who were captured by the enemy. Only Donald Trump seems to be able to get away with this. The rest of these people cannot. And the one thing we have to remember, Donald Trump was a nationally known figure when he came onto the political scene. Everybody had already heard of him. They knew him. They had an impression of him. Nobody had been talking about Herschel Walker in a really, really long time, since like the late 80s when he played football for the Philadelphia Eagles, most notably. Nobody has been talking about Greitens except for the scandals that have plagued his entire career. And Mehmet Oz, it's like, okay, Dr. Oz on TV and daytime, sure, but as far as Pennsylvania voters go, this isn't a home state guy. This isn't someone they have a reinforced opinion of. So their first impression of these candidates is all universally negative and bad, and that's not going to get any better as we head towards November.
Yeah, you're right. That is a big difference. A good point you make there. So there is one major issue that's going to impact the midterms, and that's abortion. You have the president who signed the executive order Friday that attempts to safeguard access to abortion access. But protesters today in D.C. are saying they want to see more. The Washington Post reporting, in the view of many distraught Democrats, the country is facing a full-blown crisis on a range of fronts, and Biden seems unable or unwilling to respond with appropriate force. Democracy is under direct attack, they say, as Republicans change election rules and the Supreme Court rapidly rewrites American law. Shootings are routine, abortion rights have ended, and Democrats could suffer big losses in the next election. What is your reaction to that, Michael?
Look, I wrote a column this week talking about that fact. President Biden has failed to meet the moment. Having already seen the draft proposal from the Supreme Court 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, the administration should have been ready on day one to roll out new proposals. They should have been ready to roll out allowing Americans to have abortions on federal property. These are layups, and it seems like over and over again, the administration is caught on its heels in ways that it shouldn't be. These are simple messaging issues, but yet they seem to fall on their face. And so I think what you're seeing now is a lot of Democrats really kind of take it to the next level and say, if you're not going to do this, if you're not going to show up and be loud and fight back, then we'll find someone who will. And I think that's why you're seeing the emergence of, Gavin Newsom in California less than a year after facing recall. I think that's why you're hearing other candidates potentially talk about jumping into the race. This has been a systemic problem with this administration. And listen, I like Joe Biden. I think that he did a really good job in the first 2 years of getting us through COVID, kind of returning to some sense of normalcy out of Donald Trump. But I don't think he understands that this isn't a tickle fest. This is a knife fight, and we've got to be serious. This is about the future of our democracy.
So I want to get your reaction to the same thing, Kurt, and let everyone know what we're watching there. As you see, it's live pictures on the left of your screen outside the White House there, Lafayette Park, and you're seeing a sit-in for those that are protesting what's happened at the Supreme Court, denying abortion rights to all in this country. So, Kurt, last word to you.
This is the biggest difference that I've observed from my former life as a Republican to being a Democrat. When Republicans are in power, you never hear them say, God, I wish the president was stronger on this and dividing one another and fighting with another. I am so freaking sick and tired of hearing stories about, oh, Democrats are so dismayed. Stop doing that, Democrats. You want to protest? You want to have your voice heard? The one thing that you can do that is important, that is meaningful, that could change everything is to show up and vote in November. Everything else is just performative. Everything else will not change the outcome of how things are going in this country. President Biden is 100% right when he says if you want a difference, we need 2 more pro-choice senators. We need to keep a pro-choice House of Representatives, and then we can get the things that you want done. But that's what matters. Keep your fire on Republicans. The one reason why this stuff is happening in America is because Republicans are imposing extreme minority views on the rest of us. We have to stop them. The only place we can do that is at the ballot box. Stop complaining. Stop griping. It is not going to serve your purpose. Republicans don't do that. They stay united, and then they win. We need to do that, too.
Okay. Preach, Kurt Bardella. Thank you for that. You